All right. Good morning, everyone. My name is Shanna Grigoletti, and I am the Executive Director at Lighthouse Community Center. We are a small community center located in Wyoming, Michigan. We offer free classes, activities, resources to the community to help build relationships with our neighbors, with everyone around. We're also trying to strengthen family and just build a stronger, safer community where we live. And so part of our stuff when we're actually open is that we have Celeste from Mercantile Bank come in at least once a month, maybe, to meet with us about financial wisdom, give us counseling, give us advice about how best to use the money and resources that we're given. And so today, since we have been shut down for so long and there's just so much going on in the world of money and benefits and things that we're all struggling with, we thought it'd be a cool idea to just come on and have kind of a conversation with each other about money and finances and how things are going. So that's what we're doing today. So welcome. I just want to introduce Celeste. You see her on the screen. She is a community partner from Mercantile Bank, and I'll let her introduce herself a little bit more. So good morning, Celeste. How are you?
Good morning, Shannon. I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing really good.
Good, good. Well, thank you for the introduction. As Shannon mentioned, my name is Celeste Spivey, and I work at Mercantile Bank as the Community Development Administrator. And part of my job is going out in the community, working with nonprofits, municipalities, and schools, teaching about financial education. So I am excited to be here today so we can, we came up with a few questions that we're going to talk about, and hopefully it will help you out. And the first question that we're going to get started with here is question number one. Shanna, which bills do I pay first if I don't have enough money to pay them all?
Right. And that is a huge question right now because we're all facing this issue of unemployment and losing your jobs and all this stuff that's going on. And how do I make the most of the money that I have right now if I can't get everything paid? But so when we first started actually taking our finances seriously, we stumbled upon this guy named Dave Ramsey, who apparently is huge. We didn't know about him for a while, but he's kind of a financial guru that main goal is to have people get out of debt and take control of their money. But one thing that he taught us that we've really followed is that when you don't have enough money to make everything work, you need to make sure that you're taking care of what he calls your four walls, your home, your stuff that is going to make life essential. So like your rent, your utilities, your transportation, your food, and your personal hygiene, so your clothing and your soap and shampoo and toothbrush and all that stuff. So first and foremost, you got to make sure you keep a roof over your head. So pay your rent. That is like the number one thing. If you don't have money for anything else, pay your rent first. Keep a roof over your head, because that just goes down the spiral of getting evicted, and then you have bad credit, and then you can't get a new place to live. So pay your rent first is what we've always been taught, and then go from there to your utilities. You want to, even though you have a roof over your head, you want to try to keep the lights on, and utility companies always work with you. If you're behind on payments or can't make the payments, call your utility company. They will work with you. DTE Consumers, they have really good programs of how to help you pay your bill and keep your utilities on. And then food, make sure you are able to feed your family. That is just crucial. That is, so those three things. And then after food is transportation. So if you have a car, you need to keep that car to keep your job, to get to your job, because then if you lose your job, then you're in that much more trouble. So that's car insurance, car payments, gas. A lot of times when we were really scraping the bottom, we had to cut out all like unnecessary trips. Like I love to go to the beach and like ride around to friends' houses and do all these things, but when you are counting every penny and every little trip takes gas, you really have to like cut back and be like, I only have enough gas money to get to and from work, and so that's all I'm going to use my car for, because if I can't get to work, then again, I'm down that spiral. And then the last thing to take, so those three things, and then the last thing is your personal care, your clothing, your soap, shampoo, you just so that you're able to take care of yourself. And that includes like prescriptions and medicine. So those 4 things that make life essential, that help you actually stay alive and live, are the things that you should pay first. So don't worry about anything else. I mean, the credit card people, they're going to yell at you that you're missing your payments, but they can just yell. They're like, you need to take care of yourself first, take care of your home, take care of those 4 walls, and then go from there. So that's what we've done.
Oh, great, Shannon. That was really excellent. That's so true. Prioritizing your the necessities is the key of survival, especially during this time. Thank you, Shannon, for your answer on that.
All right, Celeste, so that brings us to the second question that I have for you is, if I don't have enough cash to get by, or if I need short-term cash or emergency cash, what are my options, and what is your opinion of payday loans?
Well, my opinion of payday loans is that I'm really not fond of them. I believe that they prey on the innocent, especially for those who need that fast cash right away. They understand that some people may not have good credit, so they're going to come to them. And normally, once you walk into that building of a cash advance, you're going to post date a check, or you're going to sign an authorization for them to withdraw the money directly off your account. So this is why, one of the reasons why I'm not really fond of them, because let's say you need that short cash right away. Normally that's between $500 or less. So you go in there and you sign over your post-dated check or whatever for the $500. And an example that I wanted to share with you all is that what if you signed over your check for the $500 and 2 weeks later you're going to have another bill that is due? They count on you coming back in and saying like, hey, you know what? I have this new bill that's due, so now I have to roll over for another 2 weeks. So just think about it. For every $100, they're going to charge anywhere from $15 to $20. An article that I found says that after 8 weeks, your fees can come up to over $530, which is more than what you started out for lending. So if you need that fast cash, please reach out to your local church, maybe to DHHS 211. Find out what organizations are available that can assist you with that fast cash to help you for an essential need. If you have good credit, but maybe you just need something right away and you don't have enough in your account, check with your financial institution. I promise you, you will pay a lot less going through that financial institution than you would by going through a cash advance. And you're also establishing your credit and building it up higher. So that's what I would do if I needed fast cash from a cash advance place.
Yeah, and then you also said that to reach out to your local community about like your church or other places. And like here at Lighthouse, we are able to help you guys navigate that. So we have Sarah who works for us, and she runs the coffee spot part of the community center, and she's a social worker. So you can come in any day of the week to talk to her and tell her like, hey, this is my situation. Where do I go? How do I help solve this without having to get into debt of payday loans and just have them trip you into that? And she'll help guide you. She'll help you walk you through all those processes of going to different organizations throughout the city to figure out what you need to do. And then also if we're able to help some things also. So you can always fill out a request form through us, and then we can also see what we have to do. So that is that. So thank you.
Now, I'm going to ask you a question, Shanna.
Okay, I'm ready.
I don't know how to budget. Where do I start?
Oh, yeah. So budgeting is kind of where to start when you want to take control of your finances and not be so stressed out all the time. But it sucks. Like, I hate doing it. It's so time consuming and sometimes so stressful and hard, but it's super, super important. And it's it's not super hard to make a budget, but it's super hard to stick to a budget is where we come in, because we'll make a budget every month and we're like, oh yeah, we're doing great. And then we just throw it out the window halfway through. So what we started with and how we did it is you have to first like just keep track of what you're getting in money every single month. So like write down your paycheck, write down any benefits, any child support, write it all down what you're getting, and then make an average of your monthly income. And so both me and my husband work hourly jobs, and so our monthly income kind of fluctuates. It's not very consistent depending on how much hours we get. And so we base our budget on the lowest amount possible that we normally would get. So if we just worked our basic, very little minimum hours, that's what we base our budget on, so that if we end up having an overtime week or a week where we work a lot more, then we are over budget, and then we can either save that or catch up on some bills or something like that. So we base it on our monthly income, and then we went through like our old bills, like kind of on average, what are we paying in utilities? What's our gas? What's our electric? What's our water? What's our trash? Like average those all out. And then you just got to do the math. You just got to take your monthly income, subtract your utilities, subtract your rent, subtract your mortgage, then you have money left. Then after that money, then you're like, okay, what am I paying on cell phone? What am I paying on internet, Netflix, Amazon Prime? All of the monthly bills that you pay that aren't necessarily necessities, but you still pay them because they're kind of like, I like my Netflix. So then you subtract that. Oh, and you got to put groceries in there too. Forgot about groceries. So you subtract all that. And then if you have a positive number at the bottom, you're doing really, really good. If you have a negative number at the bottom, which we did, we kind of had to go back and be like, okay, how much are we spending on groceries? How much are we spending on entertainment? How much are we spending on this and this and this? And where can we cut back? And like what we found out when we actually did it for the first time was how much money we were wasting on restaurants and fast food and going to the movies and things that we're like, oh, we're just gonna do a drive-through tonight because we don't feel like cooking. And like it adds up. So it would just surprise us how much money we were wasting eating out or going out. And so that was just a huge realization of like, oh, we're not doing that bad. We're just wasting a lot of our money without even realizing what we're doing. And so part of budgeting is just kind of opening your eyes to where your money is going. Like, hey, I thought I made this much this month and I thought I could have paid all my bills, but now I can't. And so it just kind of gives you that realization of, okay, I got to take care of all my bills first. And then if I have money left over, then you need to allocate that. Like, am I going to pay down my debts? Am I going to put some into savings? Am I going to just be able to go out this month? Those are choices that you have to make, but making the budget helps you make it so much better. And then just give yourself grace when you mess up and go off budget and go blow it on something. That we all have done that before. So you give yourself grace, come back next month, recheck it, and it's just a consistent thing. Like just because you do it once doesn't count. You got to like redo your budget almost every month and just keep track of what you're spending. So that's how me and my husband do it, and it works some months and some months it doesn't work.
Yeah, that's great. And I would just like to add one way of averaging out your utility bills is take about 3 months and then add up to 3 months and divide it, and that will give you a good average to start with, because we know that your utility bills change from month to month. So if you take about 3 months of your utility bills, that'll give you a good average point to start with. But you're right, there's a difference between flexible spending and fixed spending, flexible and fixed. So you want to make sure that those things that are fixed, like your rent, never change month to month. But those flexible expenses are the ones that you're going to have to really work on the average. So great. Thank you so much, Shannon.
Yeah.
So we're going to continue on with the next question. It says, people always advise me to save money for emergencies, but I can hardly pay my bills. What can I do?
Yeah, this is so, sometimes it's super overwhelming because that's what you hear from everyone. Like, well, why don't you have a savings account? Why don't you have an emergency fund? Where's your savings? Blah, blah, blah. And you're like, I am trying to save, but I just have nothing left at the end of the month. And that's when we first started doing this. So we first started taking our money seriously probably 10 years ago. We were like, maybe not 10 years ago, maybe 8 years ago. We were about 10 years into our marriage, and had just lost a job, and we're like, okay, we need to actually figure out how we're gonna do this. And so we were told that we chose to have like an $1,000 emergency fund. And so we made that goal, and we're like, we're gonna put $1,000, we're gonna take it, we're gonna put it in a separate savings account, and we're gonna promise each other we're not gonna touch it unless our car breaks down or we have to go to the emergency room or something. And it took us a long time to get that $1,000. It took us maybe almost a year, because you're right, you barely have anything left at the end of the month to put towards that. And so we kind of had to change our lifestyle for a short period of time, and it was really, really, really hard. Like, we said no to almost everything. We cut our grocery budget down so low. Like, we ate like crap. Like, we didn't buy pop, we didn't buy steak, we didn't buy bacon, we didn't buy anything that is good. We bought a lot of like hamburger helper and tuna sandwiches and just like your basic necessities. And that's what you had to do, and it sucked, but in my head I'm like, okay, you know what, this is not going to be forever. I'm gonna be able to eat bacon again.
Yes.
But it takes so much stress away from those unforeseen things in your life that just pop up. So we've been able to get our car fixed several different times because we've had this emergency fund, and because it's sitting there. And then we have to go back to living like really cheap for a while to build it back up once we've used it. But I think setting your goal and maybe just having a time frame in your mind, like, okay, I know it's going to be hard, but it's only going to be hard for 3 months, and then it'll be okay. And then you have that piece that you have something for emergencies in case something comes up. And then that's how you avoid payday loans or credit cards or things that are going to get you deeper and deeper into debt and into trouble. So that is what we did, and it works. And we've used our emergency funds several different times, and then we have to build it back up, and it's just very comforting to know it's there. But it sucked getting it. We also had a garage sale, sold a bunch of stuff. And then it's also, if you have your goal and you're trying to just get to it, sometimes you can just pick up a quick like weekend job or something, like delivering pizzas. Actually, you can get pretty good money delivering pizzas, and if you just put all that extra money, boom, straight into savings, you can do it pretty quickly. Or driving for Uber, or just picking up just a little tiny part-time job that you're like, I'm going to keep this job for 6 months until my savings is built up, and then I'll quit. So yeah, and so that's what we did. And then where am I? Yeah.
So, I'd like to add some of the things that has helped me in the past. When I lost my job in 2013, I put together a vision board. So then that way I always had something to remind me of what it was I was saving up for. So that's another good thing. And then there's something called SMART goals. And the acronyms for SMART is being specific, measurable, achievable, results, and time bound. So whenever you think of a goal that you're trying to set, use those acronyms for SMART, and it'll help you stay on. And as you had mentioned earlier, you know what, give yourself a little grace if you can't make it that month, because the key is going back to revisit to make sure that you can stay on top and doing those little extra things to earn money. Like if you have a hobby, I always tell people start off with something that you can do at home, because that way you don't have to pay any extra cost for another job or pay for daycare or something. But if you have a hobby that you love, maybe right now in this pandemic, you can make masks right there at home and sell them. So that's another way that you can add.
Yeah.
So, thank you so much, Shanna.
Yeah, so as moving on from that, so we've budgeted, we've started doing our savings, but I have really bad credit, right? We've made lots of mistakes in the past. My credit is crap. Like, what can we do to kind of build that credit up to make it easier for us to get a house, get an apartment, whatever we do? Like, how do we build our credit back up?
Oh, great. Great question. The first thing you want to do, you want to start out with pulling a credit report. Never pull all 3 credit reports at once because, it's better to just pull one. Because if you pull all 3 down the road, if you had identity theft, you wouldn't know about it. So we say pull one credit report, do it quarterly, review that credit report, look for any type of errors or discrepancies. Let's say, for instance, there is an old utility bill from another state that you never lived in. So what will happen? You will need to send a letter in writing to that credit reporting agency to say, hey, I see this on my credit report. I never lived in this state. This isn't my bill. That credit reporting agency has to reach out to that company. That company has to prove, whether it's your signature or your driver's license, social security number, whatever it was, that the document that you signed for them to turn on that utility in your name. If they cannot prove it, then the credit reporting agency will remove that off of your credit report. That's one way to get it removed. Your credit score will go up. Another one will be, let's say, for instance, you know that you have something on your credit report that belongs to you. And I always use Sprint because a lot of people have Sprint. And that bill was, let's say, $1,000. But you never paid Sprint. So what Sprint did was to sell off that debt to another collection agency. So now you got the collection agency calling you. You still didn't have the money, so now that collection agency sells it off to another one. So in reality, by the time they keep selling it, even though you owe $1,000, you probably only owe about 500 now. So you never want to, when you're trying to pay off a debt, you never want to start off with the actual amount. You want to wait till around tax season. And the reason why we tell people tax season is because that's when you know you'll have the money. So what you will do is contact the last credit agency that's on your report and say, hey, you know what? I know that you have this debt. I'm looking to pay it off. Never start out with your $500. Start out with the amount and then negotiate your way up to it. So even though you know that you can afford $500 to clear off your debt, start off with about $300. Talk to them. Of course, they're going to come back to negotiate for more money, but just know that you cannot go higher than the 500. Never send them the money until they send you something in writing that's stating they will update the credit reporting agency to show that if you pay that money, the agreed upon amount, that they will tell them to clear it off to a zero balance. And that will help your credit to go up as well. The one thing that people sometimes think, well, okay, I have a credit card, but I don't want to use it. Credit cards are like revolving accounts. So let's say, for instance, you don't want to use your credit card, you just want to save it for an emergency, but by using that credit card can increase your credit scores. So even if you just charge $5, maybe get $10 or $15 in gas, because the credit reporting agencies, they're not looking at how much you're charged. They're looking at that you're charging something and that you're paying it off by the next billing cycle. You never want to charge something on day one and then go ahead and pay it off on day 2 or day 3. Because if you pay it off, then you're not giving it enough time for the bank to report it to the credit agency. So even though you're paying it right off before the billing cycle, you're not earning any credit from doing that. So don't do that. those would be some tips that I would recommend. And then if you need the website, it's the www.annualcreditreport.com. It's free, pull it quarterly, and just monitor it. So that's how I would say some good tips to get your credit score up.
Yeah, that's crazy. I never really realized that about what the credit card. Like, you always think you're in a good position of paying it off super fast, but you're not even giving it enough time to affect your credit report. And so then it's like, I'm doing a good thing, but it's not really doing me a good thing. That's new information to me. I did not know that. That's very interesting. So people would like to know, and like, well, we can both answer this, but people would like to know your favorite piece of financial advice. And so I'll go first. I don't know if it's an advice that I give myself a lot, and so then I pass on to other people, is that someone told me once that it's only a sale, it's only a deal if you actually need it. And so a lot of times, we walk into the store, we have in our mind what we're gonna buy, but then we see the clearance rack, or we see the sales rack, or we see a BOGO or something, and we're like, oh my gosh, this is such a good deal, I'm gonna get it. And then you end up spending more money because you got something that you didn't really actually plan on getting. And so that's what I tell myself every time I go shopping. I'm like, even if it's on sale, even if it's irresistible, if I didn't need it, then it's not a deal, because then I don't need it. It's not on my list, and then I'm still spending extra money that I didn't plan on. And so that has helped me a lot. And so I just say, if it's only a deal if I had already planned to buy it. And so that helps me avoid a lot of unnecessary spending just because I couldn't pass up a really good deal. So that's kind of the advice I give to people, is don't get trapped by all that marketing stuff. Only, like, you look for deals, look for coupons for the things that you are already planning on buying, but don't just get trapped into the clearance signs and the BOGO signs and stuff at the store while you're shopping.
Mm-hmm. Great. You know, I'm along the same line with you. I had to teach myself the difference between needs and wants, because we always think that, you know what, I work hard every day, I deserve to treat myself to something. And that's absolutely true. But however, when you know that you're trying to set up a goal for something that you really want, then you have to say, okay, do I really need this, or do I really want this? It doesn't matter if it's on sale. It doesn't matter if it's on clearance. If you have a goal, you want to make sure that you can stick to it. And also it alleviates that impulse buying. You know, and this is what I don't carry a lot of cash on me, because I never want to be tempted for impulse buying, because I'm like, okay, I can put, you know, X amount of money down and I can charge the rest. Like, no, keep in mind of your goal. Keep in mind of doing that vision board, because it really, really helps you out. So if you can walk away from impulse buying and keep needs versus wants, then it will definitely help you. Those are all the tips, financial tips, that I like to give people.
Yeah, so we still have a little bit of time left, and so we have one more question that is a huge question. It's very relevant right now too, is how do I recognize if something is a scam or if something is legit? So there's a lot of stuff going around right now, and like, how do you tell the difference?
Yes, you know, the one thing that I always tell people, is that scammers, they don't discriminate against anyone. They don't care about race, religion, anything like that. They're looking for the one person who's going to fall for it. And it happens to the best of us. When we talk about email, I know you said that you like Netflix. Well, this year, Netflix was one of the companies that someone used their logo. And so when the person received, or people, period, because they sent it out to multiple people, when they received the email, they actually thought it came from Netflix because of the logo. But there were some key things that we need to look at. Number one, Netflix isn't going to call you, hey dear, I have this promo going on. they're not going to address you like that. They're going to either say, dear customer, or they're going to have your name listed there. So that's one sign to look for, the way that they greet you. Another one, they wouldn't say just click on this link for more information. They're going to give you that information. And if you get an email and you're not sure about it, maybe the logo look a little bit off. Maybe if you scroll over the email address, you can actually see that it could be a digit or a number off. Those are different clues that you can look for. But I would never click on a link, and I would never call the phone number that is listed. If you are a customer, call the number that you receive on your monthly bills. And that way you know you're talking directly to the company. There's the lady from Shark Tank, Barbara Cochran, I think her name. I know it's Barbara. Like yeah. You know, earlier this year, her bookkeeper received an email, so they thought, from her assistant, to pay almost $400,000. But they had misspelled the assistant's name by one letter. So you have to really pay close attention. And if it's something that you know that, hey, this seems a little strange, why would I be sending this money? Another good example is if you receive an email from a family or friend that said, hey, I'm in this emergency situation, can you send me X amount of money? Well, I think they will call you before they send an email. That happened to someone at our church. They received an email claiming to be from our pastor saying, hey, I'm traveling, my car broke down, can you send me some money? And this is why you got to look for those little bit of signs that can help you out with that, so that you can determine what is a scam and what isn't. And right now, when we were getting the stimulus check, people were calling, people saying, hey, we have your stimulus check, but we need you to send us X amount of money. The IRS, the government, they're never going to ask you to send money to get your money. So you don't want to do that at all. And then Dish, another good example that happened. A friend of mine had Dish that came out to their house to repair something. A couple hours later, he received a phone call, so he thought from Dish, that was saying, hey, you know, we have this promo going on, but we need you to send X amount of dollars, but only in gift cards.
Oh,
you know,
yeah,
asking you to send gift cards, whether it's to a company or rather they really prey on the elderly, because they'll say, you know what, your granddaughter or grandson is in jail. In order for you to do that, I need you to send us these gift cards. I'm going to hold on the line until you read off the numbers. No, don't do that. I've seen it over and over again where people are scammed like that. So you want to make sure if it's an email, really scroll over to find out who it's coming from. Never click on any links. Make sure you follow up directly with the company, not by the phone number and the email, but the number that you have on your bank statement. Reach out to your family to see if they really were the one that sent the email, because truly, if it's an emergency, an email is not the way to go.
Right, right. Well, that's interesting that you said that about your pastor. Someone was impersonating him. That happened here too. So Pastor Mark, who is the pastor at Calvary, where we hold the community center, just like 2-3 days ago, people were getting these weird emails from him about how, oh, I need to talk to you discreetly about a project, but I'm in prayer meetings all day, so can you please respond only via email? And it was just like a weird email where like, that's not how you talk, and that doesn't sound like you, and I know you're on vacation right now. And so, but if you didn't know all those things, like, you could totally be convinced that he was reaching out to you for something and reply to the email. But I did the same thing. I checked what the email address was, what he was sending it from, and it was an unknown email address. And so he sent on a message like, hey, did you get this email from me? It's a scam. Don't reply back. And another time a couple times lately, I've gotten scams through Facebook Messenger. So like communicate a lot with people versus through Facebook Messenger. And like if you get a friend request from a friend who you think you're already friends with, or you're like, oh, maybe they have a new profile or something and need to reset their friend list or something. So you accept their friendship request. And then a little bit later, not too much later, they'll send you a message in Facebook Messenger. Hey, how are you? Blah, blah, blah. And for a little bit, I almost fell for it twice. They'll just talk to me like they're real people. And I guess they are real people, just not who they say they are.
Right.
So they're talking to me like they're my friend. And then one of them was a lady from church who I don't really talk to that much, who doesn't normally reach out to me. So I was a little bit skeptical, but also I'm like, well, it's COVID. Maybe she's lonely and just needs someone to talk to. So I didn't think too much of it. And then she's like, I heard about this really cool grant that you can get, and so forth. And people are always telling me about grants to apply for and ways to better the community center and stuff. So as I'm texting with her through Facebook Messenger, I'm also Googling what she's saying to see if it's legit. And it ended up being just some wonky like Facebook page that just seems so shady.
Yeah.
And so then I texted her. I was like, this seems like a scam. I'm not going to open this link that you just sent me. I don't think we should talk anymore. And the person's like, oh, no, it's not a scam. I promise it's a real grant, blah, blah, blah. And then I just stopped the conversation because it just felt so off. But they almost had me there for a minute.
Yeah. You know, I'm glad you brought that up, because the other thing that I wanted to bring up, you know, with everyone being laid off due to COVID-19, be very careful about applying for jobs. There are a lot of them out there, and they will even advertise on a legitimate site such as Indeed for employment, work from home. You can make X amount of money, or this company is hiring. You want to be very careful of that. And what I always say too is, like you just did, if there's a job that you're looking for, Google the company and make sure it is legit. And then why not just apply for it on the company's website instead of just applying through whatever the site was that they posted on Indeed. I have heard too many people that had said, especially for the work at home during this time, that they, you know, did the research on the company only to find out that it wasn't a true company. Just another way of people getting your information, which is why you want to be careful when you apply for jobs, because sometimes they will ask for your social security number. You're like, oh, wait, I'm not comfortable with doing it, especially if it's a state job or a government job, I should say. So you always want to make sure that you want to go directly out on that site. And, you know, we're talking about a little bit when we're talking about credit identity theft. By not pulling those 3 credit reports, shredding all of that personal email, never leaving stuff out in the open, can help you with identity theft as well. So that's why you want to just wait to pull those credit reports.
That's awesome. Well, that is all the questions that we had from people and from ourselves that we came up with. And so unless you have anything else to add, I just want to thank you so much for your time and helping me put this together. And I'm going to edit it a little bit, and then I think we're going to post it up on social media for anyone to watch. And then if we didn't get to a question that you thought we should have, or that you really would like answered, or if something came up that you want us to explain more, reach out to us. Send me an email, send us a message, and we will gladly answer those questions or talk to you more about things that you are wondering about. So I just want to thank you for your time. I want to thank you, Celeste, for your time, and for everyone watching for their time. And once we start back opening up, Celeste will be able to come again sometime, who knows when, but she usually comes about once a month on Thursdays. So once that starts back up, you can meet with her in person. So thank you.
Thank you.